Hello, my name is Shachar Peled, and this is another video in a series about evolution as the basis of faith. We're now speaking about the meeting of the human and the divine, and in particular about man's search for God that crosses all cultures and displays that burning yearning of all that is alive to merge with the divine, with the inner force that is pushing evolution. In many civilizations, this search for the divine is focused on the vitality of the world, of the on the soul of things, the spirit of things. And out of this animist faith, over time, they developed faith with many gods that assigned a status of divinity to various forces that are part of reality. According to archaeological findings, polytheism is the characteristic religious form of all ancient civilizations, of the forms of civilization that were common throughout the world until the advent of the Jewish people, when monotheism began to take center stage. And we'll speak more of that because Judaism is not really monotheistic. The religions that were that plagiarized it later, Christianity and the Islam, they looked at it as monotheistic, but actually the Jewish faith is panentheistic, God in everything and both immanent and transcendent at the same time, as we have spoken here at quite some length. But first there was polytheism. Greek polytheism, Roman, German, Nordic, and more that conceived the transcendental in the image of many colorful gods that represented forces of nature and qualities of the mind. Polytheism knows no bounds. It finds God everywhere, and it crowns everything with the title of divinity. The sun is but a manifestation of the sun god Apollo, and the sea is but a manifestation of Poseidon. God, Shiva, manages reality in his harsh way and is revealed to the believers in many forms. With all the disunity and the non-centralism, the wide distribution, the scattering that characterizes polytheism, it too focuses the inner aspiration of man towards that which transcends it. The recognition of God's infinite transcendence or transcendental infinitude is found in like a kernel in every faith, including the polytheistic faith, because thunder has a stronger thunder god that creates that thunder, and the great winds are under the responsibility of Aiolos. There is a god for every major thing of power. In reality, there is a god that is greater than that. And as the Rabbi Kook writes, the preparation for the divine idea is found in some way, overt or covert, direct or indirect, straight or crooked, in all hearts that comprise humanity, in all its streams, families, and nations. This preparation for the divine idea gives rise to religions and various feelings of faith, of devotion, orders, and customs that are also generating huge endeavors in a great force within the lives of individual humans and entire nations, influencing the arrangements of society and the processes of the political bodies. They are weaving both in concealment and out in the open great adventures in the spirit of man and the nature of man's life. These are the stages of the movement towards the perfection, the becoming perfect of the divine idea within humanity, and its clarification to the point that it will spread its wings and fly high to a fuller life that is full in their originality, both in the present and in the eternal future, because it will be connected at last to that divinity, the divine idea that humanity had been preparing for throughout its history. Matters do not become clear easily. The individual hides from his God. He is afraid and tries to hide among the trees. But he has no question to the rhetorical question. So he has no answer, no response to the rhetorical question that God asks him. Who told you that you are naked? No one has to tell a human being that he is naked. His very humanity isolates him from the rest of evolution, from the rest of animalia, and brings him face to face, pushes him to meet, to encounter the transcendent. And in encountering the transcendent, the perfection that is beyond man, then man feels his nakedness in front of the enormity of the revelation of the divine. Therefore, the correct response to God's question was, you told me, you, God that is within me, God's image in which I have been made, it told me my imperfection as compared with your divine and infinite perfection. The soul of man, the immanent God that is within man, has been aspiring, is aspiring to connect with transcendental God that is above man. The immanent divine that is pushing evolution has reached the point that man now has an awareness, a consciousness, and is looking up, and looking up because of this pushing, this immanent God within him that tells him there is perfection, because the world has descended from perfection and must rise back to it. Now man can lift his eyes and look at the transcendent, find the shape of perfection. And the first step in that direction is to cover the nakedness that connects man with all the rungs of evolution that are below him. Indeed, not only man is looking for God, but God too is looking for man. Because the first thing that God told man, the first utterance that we find between God and man in the Bible, is God's question, where are you? That is what God asked man. And just as the created being is seeking its creator, so the creator is seeking his being, wishing to transfer the responsibility for the continued development of evolution to that new being, the conscious being, a being that is aspiring towards perfection out of its own free will. The interaction between God and man is based on this axis of man's demand for perfection, a demand that found its manifestation, its realization in Abraham, and Abraham then lifts his eyes and applies the same demand for perfection towards God himself. And we find that Abraham told God, are you going to kill the good with the bad? No, you are the judge of all, and you must always do justice. This is the very epitome of evolutionary development that leads to recognition of the other, the recognition of the transcendent other, the infinite other, the other who is the source of all. Abraham lifts his eyes to the absolute other, and he sees the place from afar. He sees the infinite one that is at the root of all, and through that awareness, through that consciousness, he rejects all idols and lifts his hands to God, the divine, who is the supreme God, the creator of the earth and sky, the creator of the cosmos. So this ends our chapter on man created in God's image, and we see that humanity, the humanity being, has reached the point that it has recognized its own divinity within. This divinity is expressed within man in an aspiration for perfection, in a demand for morality, in a demand for justice. And out of this demand for justice, man looks to the transcendent and demands a connection to the higher morality, to an infinite goodness, the infinite life, the absolute life that is both at the source of all earthly life and at the peak of its future development. And next time we will begin the chapter about the selection of the people of Israel and God's original revelation to the Jewish people.